And this is an opportunity for the minority to demonstrate that they are on the side of the majority of Ghanaians. Because if they approve it, if they approve the ministers, what it means is that they are basically condoning what the president is doing. It is time for him to reduce the number of ministers, but he doesn't want to do that. My sense is that the minority is holding on today because they want their members to come back from the filing of registration, their nominations. So once they have the numbers, they may be able to do something. And my sense is, even if they are not able to block it, but by demonstrating that they are opposed to it, Ghanaians will be on their side. And that is a good thing for them.
So it is not about these ministers in particular, it's about the general size of the government and how we can reduce it to be cost effective at this time.
Yes. If you look at the numbers, it's not like a huge number of ministers, but the symbol is very important. In any situation, when you run an organization, and then you figure out that you have high costs of running it, one thing you need to think about is your expenditure, because that can be done immediately. Although there are some long-term solutions that can also be introduced. But at the moment, what the government has at hand that it can quickly evoke is reducing the size of government. And reducing the size of ministers is symbolic in the sense that agencies under them, if you go down to cause any reduction in the expenditure or any cost, they will also understand that you've started from the top. So some of the ministers resigned, and that would have been the great opportunity for him to realign. Because it doesn't take parliamentary approval to align ministries to reduce their number. You can't do that. So we shall go in to do that, to allow the current ministers who are in the probe to take responsibility for certain sectors. For example, finance, we don't need additional minister there because it's the same technocrats who do the work. Ministers are policy makers. They determine the direction of the policies of the government and also sit in cabinet to advise the president on what to do. So the job is pretty easy. You don't need to have two ministers at the ministry to run it. I don't know where Britain has that kind of model. But they've been doing this for a long time and they fit into their parliamentary system. When it comes to the Westminster system, the executive is very powerful. So you don't need a lot of support in parliament for certain things. So you should have one minister in every ministry so that works effectively. When you have two ministers at a ministry, there's a tendency for rule conflicts or rule confusion to emerge because the ministers will be performing roles and sometimes they conflict each other, and that is actually will go a long way to undermine organizational effectiveness. So my sense is that the minority is doing the right thing. They are on the side of Ghanaians, and they should demonstrate that if they were in government, they would have done it differently. And like I said previously, President has a listening issue because he could have just, reasoned with the minority, and then Ghanaians will give him credit for also trying to fix the current situation by embarking on reduction in recurrent expenditure as a way to go.
But I just had a conversation with a member of the majority side who's of the opinion that when it comes to expenditure, there's no need to worry so much because the people who have been nominated are all members of parliament and their conditions of service are virtually similar, close to that of ministers. So you really don't spend so much on them that you're not already spending because they are MPs.
Yes, but you see, in leadership, symbolism is very important. See, when you do that, the sense is that it tells people that this is what you are they are trying to accomplish something. They are going around negotiating with other government creditors to ensure that their burden is relieved. And if they had done that, they would have, would have given them more leverage to do that, to go around and advocate for sex reduction. Because you don't go around negotiating with someone to forgive your debt when you have minister of culture that doesn't contribute anything to, running a government. You have Ministry of Information, you have the water, sanitation, and they are all on their own. So the symbolism is very important. And it also tells the citizens that, look, our government is trying to do something, but if you don't do anything, and you tell government, the people to keep supporting that large government, you shouldn't change anything in government. But you want the citizens to support what you're doing to fix the economy. So the problem is not only the expenditure, but the symbolism at the top there. So even if you have 2 ministers, you can run the country. It's not a big problem. Because ultimately, we have executive president with a lot of powers, and then the mandate to run ministries. You take, for example, I wrote an article and I advocated that you take the Ministry of Defense. The president can keep the defense because the CDS is a technocrat and can sit in cabinet to advise the president on anything on the military. So there are things like that, and apart from the symbolism, governmental effectiveness is very important. When you have large pool of people making decisions at the cabinet level, crowd doesn't make good decisions. It takes a sizable number of people with the right minds to put things together and run the country. So they may not think of the expenditure. I know it's not that much in terms of pay, whatever. But the symbolism is very important if the government is really serious and wants to reduce the size of government, not only at the minister's level, but to go down and do it. This is where he should start with.
So you have your own ideas as to how the government can be structured at this time to save money. What do you propose happens? Which ministers goes? Who stays? How is this? How would you propose it looks like?
You see, the technocrats run the ministries. And if you look at our political history, if you take a Champions government, for example, and in Nkrumah, they have very limited low size of members of cabinet. A Champion called his ministers commissioners because they were given certain, responsibilities. He didn't have sports. I think sports shouldn't have a ministry. If you take information at the time that you can get more information from Facebook, and also write to let the government know whatever is going, whatever you think, we don't need minister of information. Because people can speak to the government can speak to it. Now you take Ministry of Culture. It's the same culture, chieftaincy. The chiefs have a very powerful association in the name of National House of Chiefs, and they even sit in Council of State. And most of the governments at the local level, the chiefs are represented. So why do we need a minister for that? You take that down. And also, if you look at some of the arrangements, you have water and sanitation, who can be under environment, education, and science, technology, can also go together. So you fuse it and then you create a better governmental structure. You take the Minister of Interior. In the US, the Minister of Interior is not in charge of security. They are in charge of lands and natural resources. So we can merge the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and the Interior. After all, the IGP is the one that controls the police operation. So that we can directly do that. And also, if you take the other organizations under the Ministry of Interior, like the prisons, they can all stand alone as agencies under the presidency. or you actually assign them to other ministries, Ministry of National Security. In America, national security is not all about what is going on in the country, because the police is there and at the local level. The national security advisor here advises the president on security policies globally. And they have a lot of issues abroad, so they need such a minister. In Ghana, we don't need that. So most of these things, once you weed them down, then you don't need to recruit new ministers. You can use the pool that you have to assign people to run various areas.
Quite a proposal. But in the meantime, you are expecting that the minority will stand their ground this morning.
Well, I expect them to do that because, like I said, I have the sense that they have the numbers. If they don't, then what it means is that at least they have tried. The symbol is there, their party is behind them, and it is going to, either way, it's going to, present the minority as the good cops here, because they are doing the right thing, and they want a smaller size of government, and most of our citizens also advocate the same. So that we can, I think we should be radical enough. If we want Ghana to develop, we should go even beyond the executive to look at parliament and other independent institutions like civic education and many, many other things. So this is the beginning, and the minority should be leading the process right now by rejecting it. And also, the reasons are already very glaring. The reasons are very clear that this is the way we should go, and majority will be on their side. So it's still, either way, it's still good for them.
Doc, thank you very much for speaking to us.
You're welcome. Great pleasure.